Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Can you guess what this is? This is compost that you can easily make from the kitchen scraps and some brown leaves from your garden. In this video today we will see exactly from scratch how we can make this compost from your kitchen scraps and brown leaves. First thing first of all you need a bin for your compost, right? So you can take any kind of there's some composters here. You can take any type of bin from this. This is a tumbler, static bins. If you're interested in 3-bay system, I will leave the link in the description below. You can always start with a small tote as well or a small bucket. You just need a system to collect your material. Once you got the bin, what is the recipe? What all you will be adding to your compost pile? Let's see the recipe. So the recipe of the composting is greens, browns, water, air. Greens is all the nitrogen rich material and browns is all the carbon rich material that gives structure to your compost, and then we also add water for the decomposition and the air. Let's see what are greens and browns. So everything from your kitchen scraps, vegetable scraps, fruit scraps, and your tea leaves, coffee ground, eggshells from the kitchen, and grass and garden scraps is your greens, right? This adds nitrogen to your compost pile. So let's see them one by one. Lot of people don't want to add eggshells to their compost bin. They think that this will add pathogens and then it will spoil their compost. I have been adding these eggshells since last 6 years. I cook a lot of omelets and half fried for my kids, for my family, and I don't even rinse it. I simply add it and I have never seen any issue in my compost pile. But if you feel a little bit squeamish about it, you can always rinse it and then add to your compost pile. And some people also do, what they do is you simply collect lot of eggshells and you can bake them and then add to your compost pile. But it is your own preference. These tea leaves, these are really nitrogen rich material, tea leaves and coffee ground. So you can add them as is into your compost pile. Some people think that this might not be tearing out, this is a plastic. If this is a fabric, then maybe you might not want to add it. But see, this simply tears off. I have been adding this as is to my compost pile as well, and I have never seen any remains of tea leaves in my compost pile in the final product. Corn cobs, these kind of things like corn cobs, mango pits, avocado pits, peanut shells, these take a little bit more time to process, but whenever your compost is ready, you can always take these out and add to your next batch. Now you must be thinking, I haven't yet even started composting and you are talking about the next batch. I am sure once you start composting, you will fall in love with this, so you will have the second batch. Your cantaloupe peelings, watermelon rinds, right? So I mean, I cut my watermelon in this size, so this is smaller. But for any material, if your material is in a smaller size, it decomposes fast. If it is bigger, it might take a little bit more time. I call my composting lazy composting. I don't worry about what is the size of the material and all that. Whatever I get at the end of the day, I simply dump to my compost bin, my compost pile. I have 2 soil savers and 1 tumbler, and I add all these things to my compost bins all the time. So this is your greens, all the kitchen waste, all the plant-based material from your kitchen and garden, plus eggshells. These come under the category of greens. Let's see what are the browns. And also some people think that, can I add the moldy fruits? See, this is one of the moldy strawberry. It's all good for your compost. That is the decomposition process. And microbials love all these kind of scraps and they decompose it for you. For browns, I have got quite a lot of bunch here. So the main browns is, first of all, browns is a carbon rich material, and this also gives a structure to your compost pile. So see, these are browns. These are brown leaves from the fall, from the trees. This is this is one of your browns, main browns, and your straws. If you can get some straws, that is also browns. Your soiled napkins, paper straw. Sometimes you get in the drink these days paper straw. This can also be composted in backyard, and newspaper. Your egg carton is a very good brown material, and your cardboard. You can simply tear it off, and if your pile is big, you can simply dump as is, doesn't really matter. But if you are starting in a small bucket or something, you might want to tear it off. So all of this is your browns, although you can add any of these as brown in your compost pile, but in general your main browns would be the brown leaves. When you start composting, you will have a bag of brown leaves beside your compost pile, compost bin, compost tumbler, whatever you have started with. You will have a bin of brown leaves or bag. So whenever you are dumping your kitchen waste to your compost bin, at the same time you also add a handful of brown leaves to the pile. So the recipe is 50-50 greens and browns. You maintain a ratio of 50% greens and 50% browns into your compost pile. So according to the recipe, the next is moisture and air. So you need to maintain good consistency, good moisture in your compost pile. It should be like a wrung out sponge. So if you wet your sponge, see if it is wet, and then you squeeze it out, a drop or two might drop, but it should not be very wet. If it is too wet, your compost might smell, and if it is too dry, it will not decompose faster. So you should keep it like a wrung out sponge. People worry about flies. My compost pile might attract flies. So you know that any exposed fruit attract flies, right? So what you can do is you can always bury your fruit scraps in the brown leaves, in the dry leaves, or if it is on the top, always top it up with the brown leaves. It will not have any fly issues. If your compost pile is smelling, that means it might have a lot of compact material. You turn in and then it starts breathing again. Also, it might have a lot of nitrogen rather than the dry material. So maybe you can add more browns and then and then you will not have smell anymore. To start composting now, you got a bin, whatever bin you have decided, your static bin or your tumbler, you set it right beside your garden, wherever in the backyard you have garden. Beside the garden is a good place because eventually when your product is ready, you will be adding that to your garden bed. So it should be beside it. And also whatever garden scraps you will be getting, you will add to your compost bin as well. So that is the best place for your compost bin. Once you have had the bin, you have set it up, you add a lot of brown leaves in the beginning, and then you start adding your kitchen scraps. So you keep adding your kitchen scraps. At one point your bin is completely full, you stop adding at that point. After that is the decomposition period. After that it takes 2 to 3 months, 4 months even, depending on the size of your compost bin, and also how many times are you turning in, how much wet you are keeping it. If you keep it wet enough, it decomposes faster. And also 50-50 is a rough ballpark ratio to keep in mind, but you can also keep more nitrogen, like the 60% of kitchen scraps and 40% of carbon, then it will decompose faster. And if you have more carbon and less nitrogen, then it will decompose little bit slower. But it's up to your if you are a beginner, just try to keep the dry part more so that you don't have to attend a lot, you don't have to worry about it. But if with experience, composting is an art. With experience, you keep becoming a pro in it, and at that time you can add even more nitrogen material, and it will just be fine. Winter and summer, composting does not happen in winter that much because it is very slow. It's frozen outside. But during winter time, during those 6 months, you can keep collecting. You can just in 2 or 3 days, whenever your bucket is full, just take it out and dump it outside in your bin, and just keep doing this. And in the summer months, when the spring comes in and your material thaws in April, at that time you start turning in and adding more water. So you start attending it. Just like when you start your garden, you sow the seeds. At the same time, you start attending the compost bin as well. And after that, during the summer months, it keeps decomposing. And at the summer, it will give you the final product. And at that time, you can simply harvest it and add to your garden beds. So I always harvest my compost at the end of the garden season. My garden beds are empty now. They are cleared out, and all the garden scraps I will be adding to my empty compost bin, and all the compost from the compost bin I add to my garden. So that's how it becomes a cycle. And next year, when the garden season starts again, I start sowing the seeds. My beds are ready with organic fertilizer, and I simply add my seeds. Rain and sunlight. So sunlight is good for your compost to decompose, but too much sunlight is not good because it dries out your material very fast. But you want to keep your composting material a bit wet for decomposition. So place your compost in a partially shaded area. Rain is very good for your compost pile. So whenever it's raining, if you have a lid in your compost, some people don't have a lid, but these soil saver and these bins come with a lid. So if you have a lid, you can always remove the lid during rain and let all the rain soak in the compost, and it will just simply decompose so much faster, and you will just see the difference when it is raining. So as I said, at one point your compost will be ready. So when you know when it is ready, at the end of when your bin is full and you got the final product, you can have a quick test. At that time, you will not see any visible fruit peels, banana peels, watermelon rinds, or potato peels, etc. Whatever you have added, you will not see any scraps in your black earth-like crumbly material. Only thing you might see is some eggshells, some corn cobs if you have added mango peels, woody branches. That is fine. At that time, the compost is ready. You can sift it if you want, or you can simply use it as is. You can pick the big material, the chunky material, just by hand and then add to your next bin. That's how you know that your compost is ready. It looks like soil, just like I showed you in the beginning. It looks like soil. You can't even say that this is the final product of apple cores, banana peels, and there is no smell here. So at that time, you know that compost is ready. Crumbly, and see how you can harvest from your bins. So if you have a static bin, you can simply tilt it, move it from its place and shovel it to your beds. Very easy. And if you have a tumbler has a opening on one side. You just rotate the bin and take that opening to the bottom, and under it will open the door, and it will simply fall in the bucket that you have underneath, or a tarp, and then you can collect it from there and add to your vegetable beds. Yeah, so this is so easy. When you start seeing converting your kitchen waste to compost, you will simply fall in love with it. And how you would use it? As I said, whenever I harvest it, I simply add it to my garden bed. And so you can add it in the beginning, before starting your garden, you can add in the soil. Or you can always, once your garden is, you have the garden, you can always top up your plants, your soil with ½ inch or 1 inch compost after an interval. You can also use in your plants and bushes, just add a scoopful of the compost, and see, this will add all the nutrients to your plant. Composting is a fun and easy process. Once you start seeing your kitchen scraps converting to the compost, you start falling in love with it. It is magical. So what are you thinking about? Don't overthink. Just don't try to be perfect. Just take a bowl and start collecting your kitchen scraps. Tell your family, announce it that you are composting now, so that they can also sort the material for you. Take a bin, set it outside, and happy composting. Thank you for spending time with me today, and I will see you in the next one.